few things that I would like to talk about. Usually don't do this, but I think some things do require some talking about. Now, I want to take this easy because I don't like stress and pressure. I should probably pick up an ashtray. Let's see. Yapari, 日本語は珍しい話は無理だよね。わかるですけど、エズマンのことはずっと眠りばっかりですよね。理由が意味はとてもいないね。ずっとで眠りをばっかり。そしてたくさんの文字は分かっていない。だから英語でしましょう。I will do it in English. Would be a better idea, I think. It's like tuning into a certain vibe when the motivation is not as much derived from meaning but more derived from sentiment. Because that's a kind of gravitational pull that's put into the language. Of being put in a box where most of the time I'm alone and I keep my circles small. There's not many people that I can talk about qualities of this world, even though I suppose that the rules of measurement are somewhat the same globally. That's what I'm told. What to talk about? Beyond. What you don't know, what I don't know. I don't know what you don't know. Who knows? I'd actually prefer not to talk at all. Prefer to just show. Let's talk about Socrates for a while. Why don't we? He gave people a little ring and made him invisible. Said one is good and one is evil. You're supposed to find out. How do good and evil relate to each other? Well, by the actions of two invisible folk. What kind of good or evil impacts what they have if you can't see them anyway? Nobody can perceive good or evil. They're all invisible. Oh. But you'll compare. We'll compare. And all of this this unrecognizable stuff where I'm not seen and nobody else can be seen and nobody else gets attention. Whatever arises might just be a dominant sense of self that does have, that is based on its own preferences, right? And that's what's that? When you're not subject, there are some things we're subject to. Those would be the natural laws, right? The laws that can be broken or bended. And then it's other people who can, for some reason. They manage to sway or subvert or manipulate the whole system to just get their way. Don't know if it's easy. Don't know how much control someone can actually have and how much they would like to have, because it can be a tough job. Maybe. And some spaces just exist to maintain the one you do have, right? And those don't have to be very nice. Maybe necessary, if you don't know any other way, right? Because if you do, right, then you can change it. Right? So you have to know. How? I was thinking like, what can I base an epistemological framework on? Concepts that can just that can serve as a good foundation to where everything else is going, right? And there's two. There's one is relativity and the other is potential, right? And potential is the degree in change that can take place, and relativity is where you or I would find myself in relation to the change that can take place. From there, it all just evolves and goes wherever it goes, with those things in mind, right? As far as knowledge goes, right? Because that's what I've found is that, when people say epistemology, they mean knowledge theory, and they say what is knowledge and where does it derive from, and you need some concept of what it is, right? And they tell you it's inside of time. And what is time if not just the constant change? And how much change is there? Well, things can change depend on the potential for change that there is. So matter and people can have different kinds of reactivity depending on the situation they find themselves in, or it finds itself in. And being able to adapt, yes, is a good thing, right? Being able to perceive as well, having and not losing your mind over not knowing where you are and not losing your footing when shit hits the fan or something's demanded would also be nice. Knowing exactly how much change is possible isn't something you'll always find out just by reading theory, of course. that can surprise. That even surprised me. Well, even it's not like I'm just building my. I did build myself up to be something much bigger than than all the other things, but you know, might be a small culture or a big one, especially when people misconstrue what you're actually talking about, right? They think something's a criticism or an attack. And they don't want to, as this is my experience, of course, when I talk about things because of a personal interest, and I suddenly find people making personal attacks on me in a sense, where I where I I mean, I notice the attack and I feel the attack, and then there's this thing that goes like, but wait a minute, I wasn't really there, right? I mean, if I if there's reciprocity on these subjects that I'm laying out, and there's a genuine interest in these paradigms that apparently are used everywhere within the field, you know, which we are supposedly relative to, then folks can put it on what they know about that, right? They don't have to make it about the person itself, right? I mean, someone's conduct with those things can still be scrutinized, of course, but how you do that, you know, and the ways you do that, there's different ways to go about that, and there's people who definitely show that they don't feel like these things are more important than how bad they feel at that moment. And I still have some trouble um, leaving it alone, in a sense. But being invisible can help someone ask, you know, why am I not getting the attention that I want? And maybe, well, go from there. This isn't invisible though. This ring is made out of brass, which apparently has 30% of the conductivity of copper. I'm wearing that on my body, and apparently there is an ion exchange possible between my skin and this, and I don't even know if that but it might be going into sentimental exchanges as well. It should, right? I mean, you're feeling yourself. I am conductive to me, like you are conductive to you. Some people don't want that because, there is this weight of responsibility that can be placed on a person in that area sometimes, right? And people can do that in groups and in force, and that's not nice. And if you felt that there's some kind of relief maybe for some people to say, I don't know, right? Because I don't want to carry that, right? But I should make damn well sure in some cases that this is not the case, right? That someone else might pick it up and blow themselves up with it, which could happen. And there are a lot of things that I'm quite frankly not privy to as far as the codes of conduct go that other people go by, or whatever protocols they deem it well enough to function on. So I have to ask myself the question, right? Because the moment, um, let's say someone asks you, how can you live with yourself if I now draw out this mirror and show you all of these parts that you don't want to see? Well, of course, they might get aggressive because exactly those are the parts that they don't want to see. and then, uh, and then, um, and then I don't feel that I'm like in a particularly good territory where I can really expound upon, you know, uh, a part of the world where people can't get over themselves, quite frankly. And I know that's rough sometimes because you have a life that you'd like to live, you have a life you're moving towards and that you want to live, and here's someone showing you another part of life that you'd rather just be running away from because that's not where you want to be. It's possible. So now I was told that part of science is peer review. So I guess that supposedly means that someone proves a theory or a technique that it's supposed to be able to be replicated by anyone who does the same and have the same findings, right? In that sense, we can get some reciprocity going. We can know that we are talking about a lot of things that are quite on some common ground. I think. might make some more videos talking about different subjects because I don't know how much space I have left on the phone and how long the video, how much of a video I can make. So I'll have to figure out as I go along. I have to figure out how this goes. Um, but I can explain. I can make a few jumps, because I like to make things very simple and then create a comprehensive part of some concepts that can all flow together and a nice little 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 structure. And then all you have left to doubt is what do I want and how do I get there, right? Mm. And then they'll say, well, you know, why don't you just work 70 hours a week just to keep the walls standing? And I don't want to go there. There will be a lot less left of the life that you want to be living in that space, I think. Hmm? I guess